All right, 1.8 applications involving percents. So first thing we got to do, rounding. And I just looked up YouTube, and it says there's a parody for rounding numbers, a parody of Down by Jay Sean. I don't know what that is, but I assume some of you do. There you go. You can look it up and listen to it. Just be careful, because when it gets stuck in your head, there's only a few ways to get that out. Sometimes it's banging your head against the wall. In any case, okay, so what we're going to do is just identify the place value that it needs to round. And sometimes it won't say the place value. It's going to tell you what place value it is, right? Like third decimal place, which is the thousands. I don't think I remember seeing them ever say round to the nearest fourth decimal place until we get into like module 6 or something like that, okay? But you find that place value. I like to identify that place value by underlining it, and then you look to the right, and then I'll circle it, and I think I've done that before. If that value to the right is 5 or more, you add 1 to that target place value, the one you underline from step 1 here. If the number to the right that we circled is less than 5, you just keep the number the same. Some people call it rounding down, but that makes it sound like you're going to subtract. It's not. It's just you're going to take everything else and then change everything to the right and make them zeros, okay? All the other place values to the right. So here we go, round to the nearest hundredth, which would be 2 decimal places, even though, what do they give us? 9 decimal places right here? Whatever, okay? 623, none of those are decimal places, so none of that's going to be affected. 623 point. There's our decimal place right there. Let's make this bigger, okay? So again, I like to underline it. Do you have to? No, you don't. You can do whatever you want. I look to the right and I circle that value, okay, 7. Is the number that I circled, the number to the right of our target place value, is it 5 or more? In this case, yes. If the answer were no, then I would just leave the 8, the second decimal place value, the same, okay? But it's 5 or more, so I need to add 1 to the 8, which makes it a 9. And then the 9 in the tenth place value was not affected by the addition of 1, so it just stays a 9 right there, okay? So there's our final answer here, 623.99 or 623 99 hundredths, you know, if you're nerdy like me. Here we got the percent proportion. Is there a percent equation? Yes, there is. And it looks like this. You got to take the whole value, try to color coordinate this. So the whole value, you take the whole value, whatever it is, the whole value, you would multiply that by the percent, and then that would equal the part, okay? I don't use the percent equation for a couple reasons. One of them is that usually you need to change the percent to a decimal first. With a percent proportion, we don't have to do that. And sometimes, I don't know, I mean, there's confusion with the part and the whole with the percent proportion, but it seems like there's more with the percent equation. So I will never require you to do one or the other, but if you prefer the equation because you have more experience with it, then use it, all right? But all the problems that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using the percent proportion. Oh, and another reason for the equation is sometimes you multiply and then sometimes you divide, and sometimes that can be confusing. With the percent proportion, usually the method remains the same no matter what. And you'll see it's a proportion. So we solve those with cross multiplication. I actually prefer fish method, but you can do whatever you want, all right? So in the percent proportion, you got a part and a whole. And in these first few problems that we're going to be looking at, the part is usually associated with the word, is. Nope. No, that's correct, yeah, is. Okay, and then the whole is usually associated with the word of, usually. All right, so they may say, like we saw in that next problem, what is 35% of, what was it, 72 or something like that, but of 72 or whatever, of means that it goes in the denominator right there. Round answers to 1 decimal place. There you go, 1 decimal place if it's needed. It won't always be needed, but sometimes it will be. Okay, what is 35% of 72? So let's go back to the percent proportion. You'll remember from the percent proportion that 100 is always below the percent, always, no matter what. Okay. Now they have to give us 2 of the 3 missing values, the percent, the part, or the whole. They got to give us 2 of those. And then we solve for whichever one is missing because the 100 is consistently always there. The percent always goes above 100. Did they give us the percent? Yes, they did, 35%. Again, the nice thing about the percent proportion is you do not have to change it into a decimal. You just keep it as a percent, just without the symbol, of course. And where is it built into the equation? It's because it's divided by 100. It's 35 hundredths, 35%. In America, we write that as one word, percent, but in most other countries, it's two words, percent. Cent being 100, so 35 hundredths is how that would read right there. Okay, now, how do we know if it's 72? Because that's the only other value we have. How do we know if it is a part or a whole? If it's a part, it will say is 72, or 72 is. If it's the whole, it would say of. Is part, of is whole. So, remember the whole value goes in the denominator there, so 72, it's of, that means it's in the denominator there, okay? And I can make that deduction just from this one word. So if you're using the equation, it still works. The 72 is still the whole. It's just, now look, we got to solve for this part, okay? Now for those of you using the equation, you just do 72 times 0.35. And if you have that down, that's fine, okay? But I'm going to continue with the proportion. The most common method for students is the cross multiplication. So I take 35 times 72. And yeah, calculator knows that a lot faster than I do. 35 times 72, 2,520. And then the other cross would be just 100 x's. Actually, I can divide by 100 okay in my head. Right, just move the decimal twice. That's going to be 25.2. That's decimal. That's our x. That's the part. So what is 35% of 72? Should be 25.2 right there. That is cross multiplication. I will use fish method or fishy method, whatever you want to call it, on the next problem, okay? Yeah, here's our next one. 16.1 is what percent of 70? And, well, let's set up the percent proportion so we can enter the values as we get them. So we got our two fraction lines, the 100 and the equal sign. And yeah, proportions are just fractions that are equal, by the way. I don't think I said that before. But in any case, it says up here, 16.1 is. See, there's our, in fact, I'll try to color code this. There we go. Is, that's one of our key words. Is the part. So that's our numerator right there, 16.1. Now, it doesn't tell us the percent, so that's where I'm going to put my x, our unknown. You can leave it blank if you prefer blank, that's fine. Of 70. Of indicates the whole, which goes into the denominator, okay? All right, now as promised, we'll use some fish method on this one. So, could you use cross multiplication? Because some of you guys are going to see this fishy method stuff, and you'd be like, Sal, I really wish you hadn't shown us that. All right, whatever. Some people may like it though, okay? So here we go. You got 4 different values in this. And this would be true for any proportion. It's always multiply, divide, and then equals, always. So it gives us kind of an algorithm that we just got to plug in the values and then it solves. In fact, no matter where you start, you should always end up with x. And with fish method, you always end where you start, okay? Now, when I say fish method, it's a math fish. So if you guys are like, dude, this is art class and it's got to be proportional and thick and thin lines, no, it's going to look like this. All right, there's a nice math fish, or it'll be facing this way, okay? And yeah, some of you guys are like, well, where's the fin and the teeth? Look, it's math, all right? So, first thing we're going to do is make the tail of the fish. And like I said, we're going to start with the letter, which is where we're going to end as well. We always start by making the tail of the fish, which is just a straight line, either way. Okay, so there's my straight line, which is the tail of a fish. Welcome to math art class. And the first value we encounter is 100. See that? Okay, so that goes in the first blank in our formula right there. And then I'm going to make the body of the fish. So there's a cross up there. Crosses up to 16.1. There's the next value we encounter. And now it reads 100 times 16.1. And some of you could do that in your head. Now I make the head of the fish. And I come down. See, I end up at 70 there. And then to finish off my fish, I end at x, which is where I should start, okay? And so, yeah, you could put an x there. Well, this, like I said, is an algorithm that I can now just plug this into my calculator. 100 times 16.1 divided by 70. I just type it in exactly like I see it. I push enter, I get 23. So, the answer, though, is not 23. Because it is a percent. Make sure you label it as a percent. I don't know that you'd have to label it on the assignment, but if you ever see a problem like this on a test, which is likely that you will, you're gonna need to label it as a percent. If I were to correct an exam and I don't see the percent, I have to take a point off. Round answers, this one I believe will require some rounding, but 27.3% of what number is 64.789. So I'm gonna set up my percent proportion. You could do the equation if you want, that's fine. But my percent here, 27.3 is, that's my percent. So that goes right above 100 right there, okay? Now, it does say of what number is, and that's one of our crucial words, is 64.789. So that's, is the part, so that's our numerator right there, 64.789. Of what number? That's what we don't know. Of, by the way, was one of the key words, which indicates we're looking at the denominator there, okay? So we don't know what the denominator is, but we can solve this. Multiplication, my bad. All right, cross multiplication then, right? So we got 27.3 times x, so that's one of the crosses. 27.3 times x, just 27.3x. And then that's nice, multiplying by 100. I'll skip the showing the calculation here, but 646,478.9. I just moved the decimal place 2 times there. That's nice. Okay, but finally, to solve for x, which is the number, we'll just divide both sides by 27.3. So when I did that, because we worked on this one, right? On my calculator, I got 237 point. This is what it shows on my calculator. I know we don't need all these decimal places, but this is what it showed, okay? Oh, I missed a 4. There we go. That's what it shows. But it does say up there at the top to round the answers to 1 decimal place. So let's round. I'm rounding to 1 decimal place. I circled the number to the right. Is that number to the right that I circled, is it 5 or more? No, it is not, which means the place value will stay the same as a 3. Everything else becomes zeros. I end up with 237.3. That's a 7 right there. In the equation, this one would be, remember, it's the whole times the percent. Now, we don't know the whole on this one, and we know that because of the of statement right there. So I would use x, but we do know the percent, and as a decimal, you just have to divide it by 100. So that'd be 0.273. There's multiplication there. But this would equal the part, which is 64.789, and then you'd divide both sides by 0.273 there, and you'd get the same answer. We end up with, I don't know, again, is this real world? You can decide for yourself, but here we go, okay? But it's not saying of or is or it's percent of something. We have to figure out how this plays into the percent proportion, okay? But your bill, it comes to $30, and you will leave an 18% tip. How much will you pay total? There's 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show one way, although if I feel like it, I may show 2, but in any case, all right? Percent proportion for me, again, could you use the percent equation? Yes, you could, but I'm not going to. So, percent, it's 18%. Now, right here, we got the $30, okay? Is it the part or is it the whole? So, it says your bill comes to $30. Is that the whole bill or is that part of the bill? Right now, yeah. Right now, it's the whole bill. Yeah, so, the $30 is the whole. That's my denominator right there. Generally speaking, students, that's the part that students struggle with, is the percent is very easy with putting it into the percent proportion. It's just, is the value we're looking at, is that part or whole? Well, this one's the whole value because it's the total bill, really. Now, is that going to be the total overall paid? No, because we got the tip, right? So right here, the tip right here, I'm just going to show as X, okay? So, like I said, well, most students like cross multiplication here, so let's go and do that. And I'll start with 18 times 30. And yep, I'm going to do the calculator. If I lose respect for that, deal with it. So that's 540 equals x times 100. I'm just going to write that as 100x. Oh, that's not too bad. Divide both sides by 100, right? Now, do be careful because right now we're showing as 5.4. I'll even show the 0 there because we are looking at dollars. But sometimes students say, look, the answer is $5.40. No, that is not the answer because the original question was how much are you going to pay total, not tips, because right now this is just the tip, okay? So you got to take how much the bill was, $30, and I'll put the decimals because we're going to add the tip, which does have decimals. Yeah, we need to add these together. Looks like total you paid $35.40. That's it. So you're gonna pay the $30 because that's the total bill no matter what. I mean, you know, don't be a jerk and stiff people. Definitely don't stiff whoever your server is and then go back to that restaurant. Do not do that. I can tell you from experience, it won't end well for you. In any case, just expect extra stuff in your food, if you know what I'm saying. So, always leave a tip, $5 minimum, by the way, please. Tip well, okay? Tracy paid $175 for an item that was originally priced at $390. What percent of the original price did Tracy pay? So here we go. Again, percent proportion for me, but you can use the equation if you'd like, and it'd probably be faster if you did, but that's fine. So the percent, they did not give us the percent. We're actually trying to find the percent, and we'll need to remember to label our answer, especially if this was a written test. But, yeah, the 175, that is not the full price or the whole price, which means that the 175 is only part of the price. That's 175. If Tracy were here to pay 100%, that'd be 390, and that's the whole price. So that's the denominator right there, okay? And you should notice the correlation here between the 100 and 390. 100% is 390. Whatever she paid here was a percentage of that price, okay? So, well, like I said, most people like cross multiplication. So here we go. X times 390, I'll just write that as 390x equals the other cross, 100 times 175, 17,500. Notice I just took these two zeros and tacked it onto the 175, right? Now I will divide that by 390 to make the coefficient of x1. So x, this is the percent, by the way. Let's put this in the calculator, 17,500 divided by 390. Enter, oh, I got 44.871797,487. It didn't tell us where to round. I'll do 2 decimal places on this one. So that'd be 871. I would round to the 7. In the second decimal place, the 1 there is going to make the 7 just a 7. So it doesn't round down or up, just stays the same. 44.87. Again, that's a percent right there. So that is the percentage of the original price, approximately. I mean, give or take just a little bit. That's a percentage of the price that Tracy paid there. If the first chapter of a certain book is 22 pages long and makes up 2% of the book, how many pages does the entire book have? Here we go. Percent proportion time. Not for everyone, but for me. Did they give us the percent? Yep, it's 2% of the book. So the percent always goes above 100. Now, do keep in mind, depending on the situation, it's possible to have more than 100% of something. But for now, we haven't seen that. Just know that it's possible, okay? So 2 over 100 right now. So the 22, though, is that part of the book or is the whole book? That's only a part of the book, okay? Because that's just one of the chapters. We don't know how many chapters. We don't care. It's just that 22 pages is 2% of the book. There you go, is 2% of the book, right? So that is our numerator right there. We don't know the denominator on this one. And while sticking with cross multiplication here, 2 times x is just 2x, and then 100 times 22 is 22 hundredths, 2,200. And just divide both sides by 2 to make that just x. So the total book here would be 1,100. Make sure you label it because it is a word problem now. Pages, PG would work, by the way, but that's good. So 95% of the questions on the student's test were correct. There were 60 questions. How many of the questions were correct? So percent proportion on this one, yeah, I got 57, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Here we go, percent proportion, right? 100 equal, oh, there we go, percent proportion. We do have the percent on this one, 95%. And the 60, though, is that the whole test here, or is it part of the test? It's the whole test. So that's the denominator right there. We don't know how many questions that would be, though. Well, I mean, we do, but not in the beginning. You know, I'll use some fish method on this one. I don't know, I like fish method, so there we go. 4 values, multiply, divide, equals. Here comes the fish. You end where you start, which should always be at the letter. We encounter 61st, then 95, and swing it back down to 100, and at X. There we go. Put this in the calculator, I got 57. Now do be careful because the answer is not 57. Okay, and yeah, you would just type this in, 57, but if you're writing this by hand, 57 questions on this one. There we go.